Today is Holy Saturday, a day of silence, questions and ambiguity. Those grey liminal hours between the agony of Good Friday and the ecstasy of Easter Sunday. For the disciples, it was a time of deep trauma. Everything that they had ever believed in had died on that cross the day before. Holy Saturday didn't feel very holy. For Mary, it was a day of deep trauma as she tried to eliminate the images of the corpse of her own son from her mind. Waking up that morning, Holy Saturday, did not feel very holy. For Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea, they had physically lugged the corpse of Christ to Joseph's own tomb. They had rubbed 100 pounds of spices, 100 pounds, into his skin and then wrapped him up. And they must have woken up that morning with their hands still smelling of the spices, and there may even have been spatters of blood on their clothes. Holy Saturday didn't feel very holy for them. So perhaps today for you, this doesn't feel like a very holy day. Perhaps, like the disciples, you feel a little bit ashamed, like you've let God down. You've got questions that you're asking. Perhaps, like Mary, you're just in deep pain, inwardly, outwardly. St. John of the Cross in the 16th century described the Holy Saturday experience as the dark night of the soul. And it's important to remember that he was saying that this experience of agony and doubt and questioning is not a dead end, but is a journey in greater maturity. John of the Cross was saying that God's silence is not his absence, but actually another manifestation of his presence. The dark night of the soul means that our questions are not the expression of doubt, but of faith. Holy Saturday is perhaps more holy than it feels. So it's Holy Saturday. It is the Jewish Sabbath. It's a day of rest. The disciples must have hated that. The last thing they wanted to do was rest and stop and think and remember and reflect and have to pray. The disciples wanted to keep themselves busy. They wanted to distract themselves from the tragedy and the trauma and the despair of it all. And there they are, forced to rest, like Jesus resting the corpse in the grave. This notion of Sabbath echoed down from the very creation narrative. Genesis chapter 2 verse 2 says that on the seventh day God finished creation and he rested and he blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Do you hear the echo? He finished creation and rested, and what is Jesus' last words on the cross? It is finished, echoing from Good Friday into Holy Saturday. God has finished his new creation work, and it's time to rest on Holy Saturday. Quite a rest, a corpse in the tomb. We find rest difficult. I think it's because we wrap our identity and our security and our purpose up in busyness. We're afraid of stillness and slowness, silence and solitude. When you say to people, "How are you?" it's normal to say, "I'm so busy," or "You can't believe how stressed I am." You don't often get people saying, "Actually, I'm very well, I'm pretty mellow and I haven't got a lot to do." I think it's because we're afraid of our own mortality. We're wanting to prove to the world that we're alive and that we matter and that we can make our mark. We're afraid of missing out. But the Apostle Paul says to us in Romans chapter 12, verse 1, that we must offer ourselves as living sacrifices. We must die to the ego. We must die to busyness. We must die to self-importance. Die to that need to impress the world. We must, if you will, and forgive me if this sounds too horrible, embrace the corpse of Christ in Sabbath rest on Holy Saturday. A few years ago I read an interview with the rock star Damien Rice in a rock and roll magazine, and you know, he went from being a busker, just playing his guitar on the streets in Ireland, to playing stadiums because his album O became a global smash hit. So his life changed dramatically, and in this interview he said that nowadays he has to fly in a private jet between gigs, and he misses sometimes how he used to have to drive. And here's what he said, because when you drive between gigs you see more. And then he said, but the funny thing is, sometimes you see more when you walk than when you drive. And then he said, but sometimes when you stop walking and you just sit by the side of the road, you see most of all. We're addicted to busy. We're addicted to achievement and function. One journalist said that atheism is the religion of the busy. On this Holy Saturday, we're invited to be still, to stop, to reflect, to embrace our own mortality, to stop trying to make our mark in the world, to enter into eternity with Christ. On the seventh day, God had finished creating, and he rested, and he blessed the seventh day, and he made it holy. The word there is kadosh. The first thing in the Bible described as being holy is a day, a moment in time, where all the other religions believed in holy objects, holy things, holy stuff. We have a faith that at its very inception said that holiness was primarily to do with time. We believe in the sanctity of time, and out of that, the sanctity of people. We're called to be a holy people, but our holiness as people comes from our ability to embrace the holiness of time insofar as we learn how to rest and enter into eternity, dying to our self-importance so we can become a holy people set apart for God. And out of holiness of time and holiness of people, we find holiness of place, prayer rooms, special sacred spaces in which we connect with God. Rabbi Abraham Heschel said 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of time, of things, of space. But on the Sabbath we enter eternity. We move from the world of creation to the creation of the new world. One of my favorite hymns of all time has this beautiful verse which I'd like to finish with, and I'd invite you to pray this with me. Drop thy still dews of quietness till all our strivings cease. Take from our souls the strain and stress, and let our ordered lives confess the beauty of thy peace.